When we talk about the future of work, we automatically assume we want a future of work. We think we should abolish work entirely. If our technological advancements can free us from scarcity, why is work still dominating us? What's the point? So this paper deals with some of these issues directly, and we assume an anti-capitalist, anarchist stance. We don't contend to hold the ultimate solution to all systemic problems, but to contribute to the conversations around the future and abolition of work. So, what is work? We use post-left anarchist Bob Black's definition of work, or compulsory productive activity enforced by economic or political means, by the carrot or the stick. So work means waged work performed to make money by producing outputs for the profit that can be extracted from them. And we also include work that's in service of capital but not legally or socially valued as work, such as sex work, unpaid internships, housework, etc. So work also broadly includes this kind of Protestant work ideology or viewing work as inherently good. Work is different from what can be defined as effort, being creative, being useful, or being productive. Anything that's done outside of enforced economic or political means is not work. So playing games, caring for others, chatting with friends. So by refusing work and reorienting our productive energy away from work, we can refocus it on socially useful and liberatory activities that aren't economically or politically forced. And a refusal of work isn't advocating for people to do nothing all day. It's a belief that work represses basic realizations of personal and social existence on an incredible scale. And even a life without work is unthinkable to us. I mean, imagine having every day of your life to do exactly what you want, spending time with your kids, doing projects with your local community, building loving, mutual relationships with others and the environment. That's what's at stake. Every day wasted on work is a day not living that life. Instead, work takes up most of our time. We wake up to commute, spend 8 hours, often more, doing tasks that our managers tell us to do for wages. We fill out forms, we commute home, exhausted, and spend the remaining amount of our time recovering and preparing for the next day of work. We spend more time with our work families than our actual families. Whether it's skilled, unskilled, essential, non-essential, remote, in-person, worker-managed, self-managed, entrepreneurial, senior, junior, intern, manager, we are all doing alienated activity no matter where we are in the hierarchy. So Bob Black notes that just 5% of the work being done would satisfy our basic needs. And David Graeber relates that many jobs today are bullshit jobs. They have no social usefulness or meaning for the individuals performing them. While we need to be destroying work, we also need to be creating infrastructure to support the abolition of work as prefigurative politics. This means activities that express the ends of its politics through its means, both envisioning a future without oppression and putting action into the present moment to create that future. So to render directions for the abolition of work, we believe transformative justice is an ideal model for thinking about how we can actually abolish the conditions that enable work to exist. Transformative justice is a model of justice that has its roots in abolishing the criminal punishment system, offering a way to handle harm and violence that uses community-based, participatory methods to challenge the root cause of the harm, rather than relying on state violence. Transformative justice shifts the focus of violence from individuals to communities as perpetrators and casualties of violence and as spaces of prevention, intervention, and transformation. We believe work is a global form of structural violence. So, looking at work through transformative justice, the first project we cover is rendering invisible work to be visible. So, sharing experiences of work and naming what constitutes work is important. Much of the work capitalism relies upon today is invisible, such as child rearing. And often this labor is seen as infrastructure or just hidden in the background and taken for granted. Social reproduction activities like cleaning, cooking, and childcare are undervalued and unwaged. So we need to be making this invisible work visible to be abolished. The next project regards creating anti-work collectives. So large groups hold the capacity and capability to shift power relations, and we should aim for a broad, unified group of anti-work advocates with explicit values and commitments. A collective doesn't need to be a geographic entity, just a shared set of beliefs, practices, politics, experiences, or relationships which establish belonging. So we need collectives that share anti-work belief with intention to create the spaces necessary for liberation. Next up, we need to create capacity within communities to reduce reliance on work. So communities are lacking sufficient models to reduce reliance on work. Capacity building would mean communities having the resources to live without relying on work or the state. Mutual aid and care networks are examples of capacity building. So mutual aid emphasizes cooperation over competition. It's a community-initiated effort where people take responsibility for caring for one another. It helps meet the needs of communities while creating networks, experience, and infrastructure which create alternative futures where communities are less vulnerable to and reliant on work. Newer models of mutual aid need to respond to the historical, cultural, population-specific experiences of the community, remain dynamic to local needs, and allow the community to remain in control. So we believe that global networks of mutual aid will enable a life without work for everybody. The next project regards healing from work. So healing from work is about gaining the sense of self and agency that a life without work makes possible. So healing is needed in individuals involved in work, bystanders to the harms of work, and even the people who force the work. And by engaging with people who propagate harm in a compassionate way, we can challenge the dehumanization that is central to systems of oppression. Looking at design's own practices, the blends of academia and industry are notorious for pro-work behaviors and attitudes. So while we do have to find ways to sustain ourselves, often through working, we can enact small behaviors that increase our capabilities of abolishing work in the future. And we can begin by changing our own attitudes and behaviors at work, coming up with our own forms of insurrection as they make sense in your own context as you can. The last project entails holding accountability for those who enforce work. So transformative justice seeks forms of accountability that can enable transformation of the conditions that lead to violence, rather than utilizing accountability as a tool for punishment. For those responsible for violence, being accountable gives them a way of holding on to their humanity and offering them ways to change. How do we humanize those who cause harm and thereby allow them to humanize themselves? We see strikes as a prime example of holding accountability. Withholding labor and undermining capital is the most fundamental power workers have under capitalism. Workers can stop society in its tracks and choose to build something different. So we need scalable, effective ways to strike and other forms of holding accountability. So all in all, we believe that HCI practitioners can contribute to the abolition of work through prefigurative politics and transformative justice practices.